So like I said, this is why you're here. We're here. This is the main show today, which is these resources. So we're going to do it a couple different ways, right? Like I said, this isn't in a typical one, in a face-to-face one, we'd get up, we'd model them, we'd have you get up and do some of the lessons. Those of you who've been to our sessions before know that we do a lot of that. I can't do a lot of that in Google Meet. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that you have time to look at these resources. I don't just want to put them up on the screen and talk about them. We want you clicking on them, clicking through them, and actually looking at these resources. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to talk about the first couple of them. And then after I talk about the first couple of them, we're going to get you into these breakout groups that by grade level to get you sort of looking at them as a group. So the first is My Classroom Economy. Now, a lot of you are already familiar with this program. I would say a lot of you in this call got this information because you're probably on my Classroom Economy distribution list. This is by far, of any program that we've implemented from kindergarten through 12th grade, this is probably the most successful and the most well-received from teachers up to administrators of any program that we've done. So I know a lot of you in here have attended My Classroom Economy training before, so I'm going to spend maybe 5 to 7 minutes just quickly introducing it and what it is for those of you who are not aware what the My Classroom Economy program is. So first and foremost, in essence, it's a token economy. Now I get to, I'm lucky, even though my background's, I told you I was a high school teacher for 13 years before I did this job. My background's high school. I've been fortunate enough in the years in this job that I've been able to visit and help support a lot of elementary classrooms, which is fantastic because it's such a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of the high school classes I go into. So I've been lucky to see a lot of these programs being implemented. I know that a vast majority of you have some sort of token economy already in your classrooms. You have some sort of system where you give students tickets or bucks or something, and they can get them, and then they can turn them in at a class store, a treasure box, something like that. So that's a form of a token economy. My Classroom Economy is similar to that, but it's a much more formalized version of a token economy. There's much more going on. It does a much better job of simulating real economic activity, which is what we're trying to do in that. And it's because it includes a number of things that typical token economies do not. And one is that students can earn income. Right? There's still bonuses and fines and things like that for good academic performance, good behavior. All that's still there, like a normal token economy. But they also have to work, right? They have a job. They earn an income. You pay them a paycheck, right? So again, we're trying to simulate real economic activity. So that's a big part of it. And then the other part is that they have expenses, right? They have to pay bills, right? That we typically don't see in many token economies, which doesn't make them very realistic, right? We want them simulating a real, like I said, real economic activity. So their main bill that they have to pay in My Classroom Economy is they have to pay rent for their desk, right? There are other bills you can introduce and other expenses you can introduce, but that's the cornerstone, right? So that's what they're learning here. They're learning how to earn and spend money. I love it for that reason. It's a great experiential program. They're just learning by doing, right? Teachers and administrators often love the program for the classroom management aspect of it, right? It's also a phenomenal classroom management tool, right? Because it's similar to a token economy. You're incentivizing good behavior and disincentivizing bad behavior, or good academic performance and bad academic performance. But it introduces sort of some of these other formal activities. So here's, I've sort of said all this already. I like the budgeting aspect of it. They really have to think about what they're buying. Whereas in a regular token economy, it's just, oh, you gave me a bunch of tickets. Now I can just go spend them all at the treasure box and, wash, rinse, repeat every single month. With this, they have to think a little bit more about it. They have to make a little bit more in the moment spending decisions. They may have to budget their money a little bit. Right? They learn about opportunity cost. If you don't know what opportunity cost is, I taught economics for years. And so did Brian. We used to always say opportunity cost is the opportunity lost, right? It's that one thing you would have been doing had you not made the decision to do what you are doing. So right now, you're all sitting here on this hopefully useful K-5 personal finance and economic resources PD. If you weren't here, you'd be doing something else, You might be getting your class ready for tomorrow, right? That's your opportunity cost was I don't have time to get my class ready right now for tomorrow, right? So it's important for students to learn that. They need to learn that every decision they make, whether it's monetary or not, comes with an opportunity cost. And they learn that very quickly in My Classroom Economy, because they learn when you have an auction, they got to make this finish. Do I want to spend all my money on this, or do I want to wait for that next item? Do I want to maybe save it for next week to purchase another item? So that's one of the main things they're learning in this. And by the way, all the pictures and everything, I'm going to show you a video. Everything you see is from our district here. I'm just going to show you a couple quick quotes. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from the many teachers that have done this. But you see, these are all directly from our district teachers, right? It's the most effective classroom incentive I've ever used. They learn financial lessons. And best of all, it doesn't take much time. You know, I will say, what I always say with this is, obviously you're not going to set it up right now with a month to go in the school year, but possibly at the beginning of next school year, there are some upfront costs. By costs, I don't mean money, because everything's free with My Classroom Economy. We give you full access to the program for free. The upfront costs are some time. It requires a little bit of time when you first start it to make sure the students understand their roles, to make sure they understand how, you know, the bills work, how the fines work, how the bonuses work, and things like that. So there is that upfront cost, but what you get it going, it runs in the background and takes care of itself. We've heard that many times. You know, they learn their standards in a fun and engaging way. We always like to see that. They've mastered all their money standards. The kids love earning money, of course. And again, what I told you before, what she says there, it's an authentic behavior management system. And this came from a first grade teacher. So we've got how my Classroom Economy works. We've got a K-1 program, a 2 to 3 program version, and a 4 to 5 version of the program. And they're all very similar. Really, it's just different denominations of money you're using. It gets higher and higher as the levels go up. I've kind of said this already. Again, there's another picture from our district there of the kids earning money. What we've done is we sometimes have trouble with, it's blocked sometimes, the myclassroomeconomy.org site, for some strange reasons. I've had lots of discussions about this. But what we did was we went ahead and set up the access to all the programs, access to all the resources. We put them in a Google Drive that Brian's just posted there for you. So you can click on that link. That gives you access to the drive where you can access everything you would ever need to set up My Classroom Economy. We'll be doing some trainings for early next year, possibly in the summer, I'm not sure yet, where we also give you paper copies of everything you'd actually need. They also now have a digital version of My Classroom Economy. So if you wanted to ditch the paper version and go fully digital, My Classroom Economy has that. The problem is, we're still having issues with being blocked. But there's also another program called Class Equity. I don't know if you've ever heard of Class Equity before. I just put it in the chat, where it has a very similar digital version, if that's something you're interested in. I'm going to show you real quick. Some of you may have seen this video before, but I could talk about it until I'm blue in the face. The best I can do, though, is show this video. All right, I'm going to show you this video. This video was actually made 8 years ago. I was actually talking with Brian. I think these students maybe not the one you see on the screen, they're a little younger, but you're going to see 2 classrooms, one that's doing a paycheck, so you can see a paycheck in action, and another one that's doing an auction. So you're going to see an auction in action. They're both 5th grade classrooms. I think those students have graduated high school now, which is absolutely crazy to think about. But I'm going to go ahead and see if this pulls up.
Your paycheck. You're just going to look at it and admire it for a moment. What are we going to do with our paycheck? Just going to look at them, and then what are we going to do? Oh, I hear some good conversation. Relita's sitting up here and she's going, based on my paycheck and based on the cash that I had. What'd you say, Relita?
I don't have enough.
You don't have enough money for what?
To pay your desk rents.
To pay your desk rents. What did we talk about at the very beginning of the year? If you don't make enough money in your job, how are you going to be able to pay your rent? I like the hand, Kyla. Okay. Elba? No, you're not going to get a loan. What did we talk about? Who remembers? Ava?
The bonus list.
The bonus list. And the most amount of money that you could have earned if you turned in everything on time was $1,300. $1,300. I've a couple of people who have only done their extras and their bonuses to get $200. So is there a big difference from turning in everything on time and kind of slacking and not doing everything you're supposed to be doing? Okay, so that's a big eye opener, right?
So she's paying them their paycheck, and then they're gonna fill out a deposit slip and put it in their bank with their banker. That's what you're seeing happen.
I'm hearing some great conversation up front, man. Tyrell goes, I've only got $50 left. I should have really done my math facts because then I would have had some more money. So is he thinking ahead for next time how he can be earning more money? Yes, absolutely. So if you are ready to bid on an item,
Here's an auction.
I will tell you what the item is. I'm going to explain. I'm going to pull it out of my bag. I'm going to show you the item. I'm going to have a starting bid. Okay. If you're interested in the auction item, you will raise your paddle.
For bids today is a no homework pass. The no homework pass is starting at $50. $550, going once, going twice, sold. A whoopee cushion. $450, sold to Jake. Okay. Lunch in the classroom with a friend. $800. $800, going once, going twice, sold to Raphael. Congratulations, Raphael. Okay, we're ending off with Sour Patch. $800.
Oh my God.
$900. Still have the Tuesday parties. 9 worked to $1,000. $1,000 going once, going twice, sold to Luca.
Homework monitor, and what's a homework monitor? Is that I stamp the planners. And I'm a homework monitor, and I stamp their planners too.
And how much do you get paid for these jobs?
Me, $550. I get $700. What? I think that Classroom Economy is a great program for schools and kids because you get bonuses and it teaches you how to be responsible with your money and you get lots of treats. And I like to be a banker because bankers need to be responsible and trustworthy.
All right, so that was a real quick review of my classroom economy. I just wanted to see that. I've if you have more questions about that, be on the lookout for some additional trainings. We'll probably do that in the future, or again, access those resources you can look through, and they're all free. Another free resource I wanted to make you aware of, which you may or may not. We've also several years ago did a couple trainings on this program called Smart Path. So hopefully some of you in here are already aware of this program. This is one of my favorites. It's a fully digital program. But it's not the students at a computer completing the activities. It's you presenting it on a screen. It's very smartboard friendly. How it works is they have it by level. I believe there are 6 levels, although I think they have a 7 and 8. The levels are supposed to correspond to grade levels, but they don't have to. You can use whichever level you want, depending on your own students, right? You can evaluate that. But each level follows a 3-story arc. It's really well done. You see the cartoon characters. I think that's level 1 right there. So it follows the same characters for all 3 lessons that you do. They have optional offline lessons that you can also do, which is pretty neat. So you could either just present it all on screen, and then every now and then it stops and has students come to the smartboard and do something, or you ask them a question and they raise their hand. It's very interactive. Or then it also has some optional offline things that you could print out and you could hand out to them. So Brian just gave you the link there in the chat. And there's the different topics that are covered in the different levels. So if you see a topic that you think that's something that you may be interested in using in your classroom, you can check that out. I know in Blender, we're going to talk about the activities you can find in Blender. I know with our Blender economics activities, several of them use a couple of the lessons from SmartPath. So some of you might be somewhat familiar with this. They also have adapted guides, which are really neat. Those are meant for ESE students or any other student who may need some sort of adaptation. Those they've got, again, on the SmartPath Learning site, you can just go and they have an adapted learning guide for every single individual lesson that they have on the platform, which is, like I said, really nice they provide that. Here's just a real quick overview video of SmartPath. All right, so that was a real entry-level overview, but you got an idea of how sort of creative it is. Like I said, really good graphics, really good activities that they have the students do. Keeps them really engaged. So what I want to do real quick is, for those of you who don't have an account, I want to give you maybe 2 to 3 minutes here to sign up for an account. It is very easy to do so. So I'll take you live on that. If you can, Brian put in just a few moments ago, he put in a link to the website, which is smartpathlearning.com. So if you want to go to that, you see up on the screen here, I'll pull it up for you too. All you have to do is let me pull it up for you. All you have to do is go up here where it says login/sign up. And you just need to click that where it says login/sign up. It's in the upper right-hand corner if you're having trouble finding it. And then once you click that, it'll take you to a page that looks like this. And if you are a new user, that's what you're going to click, right? You're going to click this button right here where it says sign up, right? So new user ? You click sign up. And then once you click that, this will come up, and I highly recommend clicking continue with Google, since all of our palmbeachschools.org, and I highly suggest using your palmbeachschools.org because you'll get automatic access because you have a school account. So if you do that and go ahead and click continue with Google, it should take you straight to the site.
Aaron, I think we had a hand come up.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Whoever it was, please unmute and ask your question. Or put it in chat. All right, well, if it comes up again, feel free to raise your hand again, or again, you can put it in chat and myself or Brian will answer it. So here's what it looks like. Like I said, so this is the level 1. If you have any issues, hopefully you're still signing up. If you have any issues signing up, put it in chat and we can try to problem solve for you while we're here. But I just wanted to show you just real fast sort of what a lesson arc looks like. So you see, I've just got level 1 pulled up there. And you see there's a pre-assessment that you can do at the beginning. And then, of course, there's an assessment at the end that does that with every single level. So you can see growth over time. Certain administrators love to see that. Then you can choose, lesson 1, 2, or 3. So if I just click here on lesson 1, again, I will remind you, this is what would be presented on the screen. So the students do not have this at their desk. You present it on the screen, and they're sitting and following along as you're presenting. You would just simply hit enter lesson. It's that simple. And then this comes up and you just have to hit the space bar to begin it. I'll just play it a few seconds of it so you can see what it looks like.
Oh, hello there. How are you today? Well, I actually can't hear what you're saying, but I thought it was polite to ask. I'm your narrator for today. That means I'm going to tell a tale.
All right. So it would go, he goes through that tale, he talks for a while, and then it just keeps going. Then on the next screen, it may
Let's see
ask
how well
students
you
to do
can
an
tell
activity.
goods and services apart. Let's say Joel teaches Olivia how to do a cartwheel, and in return, Olivia gives Joel a piece of chocolate. Which one is a good? Which is a service?
Right? So you could have students come up to the smartboard and do this. You could have them discuss in groups. There's a variety of ways you could do it. But they would take that chocolate bar. They would say, that's the good, ding, and that is a service.
Correct.
Ding.
If you buy a rake and then use the rake to clear up some leaves on a sidewalk, which is a good and which is a service?
So you get the general tone of that. I'm not going to go through the whole thing with you right now, but you can play around and see what the different levels offer. Again, that is 100% free. There is never a cost to that. It is a very, very well done, both personal finance and economics program. So again, that's Smart Path. All right, I next wanted to share with you, we created several years ago, and I think we have some people on this call who came to our trainings for this, but we created this K through 2 financial literacy for kids program in which we created these notebooks. We had 5 children's literature books, all that had personal finance themes. And then we created lessons that were wrapped around those 5 children's literature books. There were 5 lessons for each grade level. And then we put it in all one big notebook in which we gave teachers all the books and all the manipulatives that they would need to do the lesson. So they're a little dated now. We haven't refreshed it in a few years. So I just wanted to make you aware of that at some point next year, we are going to roll out the refreshed version of that. So be on the lookout. Again, you'll all be on my distribution list after this. So we will do a training and we will give you free access to all those books and all those resources. We also, this is the first thing we put out for personal finance resources. Again, at the 4th grade level, there are those benchmarks, but I will just say this before I open this. A lot of the resources on here, while we tied them directly to the 4th grade benchmarks, because those are the personal finance benchmarks we have to work with, there are a wide variety of potential grade levels that can be covered in here. But I just wanted to show you before I have you look at the other resources, which we're going to have you break out here in a second and look at these resources. I just wanted to show you what this document looked like. All right, I'll pull it up here for you. So you can see we've basically got, remember there's 28 benchmarks in 4th grade. So we've got 28 columns here with 10 to 15 resources for every single benchmark that you have for personal finance. So again, if you're in your class and you wanted to teach something about earning income, which covers like careers and entrepreneurship and owning a business and things like that, you could look at this unit and go through all the, and by the way, these are all, every single resource on that is one-click access. We made sure of that. We have an administrative Google Drive that we can use, and every single resource is on that admin Google Drive to ensure that we never have to deal with broken links or anything disappearing or anything like that. And everything's one click. You click it once and it's there for you. All right, and I think Brian also just shared it in the chat for you. So I just wanted to show you that document real quick to say that's always available for you. It is 12 pages of nothing but free to access resources. All right, what we're going to do now is I want you now to get your hands and to click through and to look at some of these resources. So that's what we're getting ready to do here. So there are 2 things I want you to look at right now, right? We're going to share with you at the end. We've got a slide deck. Some of you may have already seen it. It's been out for a couple months, but that has, all the K-5 resources broken down by grade level on it. And we've got different categories these resources fall into. So I want you to look at right now 2 of the categories. So the 2 categories I want you to look at are the K-5 personal finance lessons. So again, we have every single grade level, and we chose 10-ish or so lessons for each grade level that we felt best covered personal finance topics in those grade levels. And so I'll show the breakouts in a second. It looks like this. This is just an example of the kindergarten page, but there's a page like this for every grade level where we name. These are traditional lessons. These would be more like your stand and deliver. We tried to use ones that had creative activities that they have the students doing, but these aren't digital lessons, I guess is probably the way to put it. So there's a page like this for every single grade level. So these are the personal finance lessons. And then we also compiled, because we know, as I told you in the other program we did years ago, we also know there's a lot of children's literature books that have personal finance themes. So this is a good way during your ELA block to be able to incorporate personal finance themes. And so for each grade level, this is an example of the first grade one. We listed out children's literature books that all have some sort of personal finance theme. And then where possible, which is a vast majority of them that we listed, we also provided teacher guides or teacher resources. We gave a video in case you don't have the book, which I suppose, we don't want to have to make you buy it for all these books. We provided a YouTube video read aloud for all these. All these books have been vetted. You don't have to worry. We've got them through that good, fun process we got to put books through. So every book that's on all these lists has gone through that process. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into breakout groups. I believe Brian has been very busily trying to get everybody into the breakout group by grade level. We're hoping to get you in a breakout room where you're just with other K teachers or 1 teachers, 2 teachers, 3, so on and so forth. And I want you to look at either personal finance lessons that I showed you just for your grade level, just look at your grade level, or look at the personal finance topics in children's literature books. So pick one or the other, right? And you're going to take about 4 or 5 minutes to just kind of scroll through some of those lessons available. I want you to think about, I like this, I don't like this. This is how I might use it in my classroom. Maybe I've done something like this before. Just whatever thoughts pop into your mind. Then what we're going to do, I believe Brian has already linked it in there for you. You're going to access that activity 1, the breakout room activity 1. It looks like this. And we want you to put some feedback on there. So you're going to spend about the first 4 or 5 minutes, and we gave you the hyperlinks there. So if you're doing personal finance lessons in your first grade, you could just click that link right there and it'll take you right to it. So these links will take you right to either the personal finance lessons or the personal finance topics in children's literature books. And then for that first 4 or 5 minutes, if you could just scroll down to your grade level and then give us some feedback and give your fellow colleagues some feedback. You either did lessons by grade level or topics in children's literature, so pick which one you did. And then right here, just write, whatever feedback comes to mind, however short or however long you want to. All right, so do that for about 4 or 5 minutes. And then for the next 4 or 5 minutes, come together as a group and discuss what you found. Tell your other colleagues the resource you looked at, what you liked about it, how you might use it in your classroom. I just want you to get some good collegiality amongst your fellow peers who teach the same grade level that you do. All right? And then we'll come back after that and we'll discuss it a little bit and move on to our next activities. So does that make sense? All right. Does anybody have any questions about what you should be doing? I'm going to, in about a minute, we're going to push you into the breakout rooms. Okay. And then when you are, you're going to see a timer. We're going to put a timer on it. And when that timer gets to 0, it's going to push you back into the main room. Okay. So don't come back into the main room until the timer's done. And I may hop in and out of some of the rooms just to see how everything's going. All right. Any questions before we put you into the breakouts? All right. Welcome back. I see everybody slowly but surely populating back into the room. All right, so I'm hopeful you didn't have a ton of time there, I fully realize, but I'm hopeful it was enough to at least let you touch, click through some of those materials the best you could, so you at least got an idea of what they looked like. And I'm really hopeful you're able to discuss with some of your fellow colleagues sort of what you think might be some best practices. First of all, as you come back to the main room, just understand it clears your chat history when you come back. If there's any links that you need that we put in earlier, just put it in the chat, and Brian will get it up. He'll get it in there for you. So that's, I think you just put the presentation back in for those who are still looking for the presentation. But if there were any other links that we had in there earlier that you still need, just let us know. So first of all, is there anybody who wants to share, if anyone wants to share any insights, if anybody looked at personal financial literacy lessons, again, I know this is the kindergarten ones up here, but any of the K through 5, was there anything that jumped out? Is there anybody that wants to share anything that jumped out from the personal financial literacy lessons that you looked at for your grade level?
What I liked about the lesson, what caught my eye was a few of them where they had the letters of the alphabet, like, for example, C for cash, M for money. I say, so it will also benefit our kids, not only teaching them financial literacy, but also be teaching letter sounds, so we could incorporate other academic skills into one.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm happy you said that. Yeah, that was certainly one of our goals, and we were finding these resources so that you could do exactly that. And yeah, I love those letter ones. Those are from SmartPath. I think they call them they're bite-sized. Is that what it's called, Brian? They're bite-sized financial literacy lessons, I think.
Yep, bite size.
Laura, go ahead. You have your hand raised. Go ahead and unmute and talk if you'd like.
I wanted to know whether or not if we would be able, if they were going to put it in our standards, in like if I go to Blender, and it will be a part of the curriculum. Is it any way that they can make it a part of the curriculum?
Yeah, so that's the next battle. I mean, it's something we're going to talk about a little bit later. Understand some. I mean, some of these are already in the Blender units. Some of them are not. The issue with the Blender units is they were formally adopted, so there's not much wiggle room that the district is going to be willing to do with them. However, all of these, every single one of these lessons that you see is in Blender, so it is already able to be used. We have made sure that it is posted in Blender. It may not be posted. I know what you're talking about, like those formal units. It may not be posted in that. But it is posted in Blender for you to use there. So at least there's that. And then, yes, we are hoping to eventually change some of those Blender units to get some of these lessons that aren't already on there.
So you don't have to put it in your Google Library, saying that it's already vetted by the district, so we don't have to add it to our Google Library?
You shouldn't. As long as it's on, if it's on Blender, you can use it. And everything on here is on Blender.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And all the books, every single children's literature book you see that we posted has already gone through the media specialist review. Speaking of, what about the children's literature books? Was there anything if anybody looked at the children's literature books aspect of this, was there anything that anybody wanted to share that they saw in that they liked that hasn't been shared yet? I'm reading the chat too. Thank you for those who are putting comments in the chat.
Are we supposed to verbally say it or put it in the chat, our response?
Yeah, you can go ahead and say it.
Well, one of the things I'm looking at the 5th grade, some of the literature that is suggested we have in our school. So I like the fact that I actually can get the book in my hand and show it to them rather than have an audio video. But I like that option also to put it into Google Classroom. And I like that they're like tangible activities such as the Isabel car wash for 4th grade, which is also can carry it into 5th grade. I like the idea of well, the one with the chair, mama's chair, whatever the one that was for younger one. I actually like that for 4th and 5th grade as well, because she learns how to save money off a chipping jar over like just over time. They'll get the chair that they wanted after a fire that ruined the favorite chair and such like that. So it just seems like, even though it's a first grade one, the other thing is the language, the vocabulary that we can start talking about are some of the vocabulary words that we're having problem in our reading can't even think. Our reading
benchmark, scope, and sequence.
yes, yeah, all that is, I'm just
It's
drawing
such a good book. I agree.
but it's like it's the vocabulary, like when they're talking about what's a good, what's a service, what's a need, what's a want. Like you need food, you want McDonald's, stuff like that. I just love that, and I just think that a lot of our vocabulary words are not exercised, and so when we're reading it, they're like, So I don't know. This is good.
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was great feedback. Much appreciated. Sarah, go ahead.
I think this is like super crucial because I'm a first grade teacher and I'm not even teaching money until I just taught it and we're almost at the end of the school year. Like these kids, it takes them a while because in kindergarten, they're not really dabbling in the money aspect. So I feel like doing it at the beginning of the year, kind of using these lessons throughout the whole year, as you were talking about the classroom economy, it's great. And I'm really excited to start it next year.
Thank you. Yeah, couldn't agree more. That's why we're trying to introduce these early. We're hopeful to not just do them for, a couple days at the end of a year, which is typically where a lot of these fall into. That's why we're trying to get creative and introduce them in other areas as well, because we know how crucial some of these lessons are. Yeah, and looking through some of the comments, the sloth and the squirrel in a pickle, that is a great, that's the newest edition. That is brand new. We just put that in maybe a week or two ago. So those are really, if you haven't checked out the sloth and squirrel in a pickle lessons, those are pretty cool. I do like those as well. All right, so thank you. So those were our specific personal finance lessons, right, that we gathered for each grade level and the children's literature books. But there are still a lot of other resources out there. As if those resources weren't enough, we also have some other free resource sites that are available. And so we're not going to do, we were going to do an activity with this. I don't think we're going to do it just because we're at 4:40 and I'd rather focus on the economic stuff that we're going to look at. But I'm hopeful that when we share, or when you have time, because I know you always have so much free time, to look at some of these resources, you will be able to click through and look at these sites. But the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that's a government agency that was just created maybe 15 years ago. It's very self-explanatory what they do, right? They have wonderful lesson plans now at all levels, not just high school, not just middle school. They have really great elementary lesson plans as well. So I really wish we had time for you to look through those. I think you'd be very impressed by the lessons you find through the CFPB. The Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis is just the top tier. They have an amazing team. One of their team members is a former teacher in Palm Beach County who did some great work with us. So I know we have much confidence what they're putting out because we know the people who are creating them. So that's linked there. You can access those Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis lessons. And then the FDIC, that's been around for a while, but the Money Smart for Young People is yet another place where you can go to find those resources. So we're not going to do the scavenger hunt activity, but again, if you had time, please, when you get time, if you can look through those activities, that would be great. Now I also want to show you economics lessons and resources, right? So I've shown you some personal finance focused one, which also weave in some economics themes, obviously. But now, because you all have direct social studies economics benchmarks in your standards for your grade level, we also compiled a number of really good economics resources that you can use as well. So we're going to do right now something very similar to what we just did. All right, we're going to put you in the same exact breakout rooms that you were just in. Brian has just shared the breakout room activity 3. Right, so if you could please pull that up, it should look like this. And just like the last one, you can click on your grade level So we'll probably give you a little bit less time this time because we're running up. We're at 4:41, and I do not want to hold you past 5. So do the same thing. Take about 3 or 4 minutes, click through your grade level, see if you can find some resources you like, maybe make some comments. Again, down here, if you can make some comments, that we'd much appreciate that. And then take about 3 or 4 minutes if you want to talk amongst your fellow grade level members, do that. So Brian, if you could please push them back into their breakout rooms. Should be going in the same breakout rooms before. All right, we've got everybody coming back in here slowly but surely. So welcome back. I know you didn't, I apologize you didn't have quite as much time that go around to look through and talk to your colleagues, but I'm hopeful you were able to have a little bit of discussion. So these were a little different as you were looking through them. These now we link to your economics benchmarks, right? And we gave you 4 to 5 options for each economics benchmark, as you can see on the second grade example we share here. So is there anything that we've got about 11 minutes left, and so I got a couple things to show you, but is there anything that anybody would like to share for the good of the group about the economics resources that you just looked at? Feel free to either put it in chat or raise your hand if there's something you want to share. And if there's any links you need, again, because I know you come back, your chat's erased, so if there's any links you need, just let us know. The book recommendations and the videos, that's good to hear. Yeah, a lot of good videos in this one. To me, the economics lessons aren't quite as exciting as the personal finance lessons, but I taught economics for many years, so it's tough for me to say that, but I'm a little more passionate about the personal finance end of it. Yeah, for economics, whereas I think the personal finance ones, I think you have a couple of options. There's some that are connected to math, the best standards, or some that you can connect to ELA best standards. Yeah, the economics ones are going to be linked to your social studies benchmarks for sure. All right, if there's anything you can think about, you want to share about the economics lessons, again, feel free to keep sharing in the chat or raise your hand at any point if there's something you want to share for the good of the group. But you see there's what the economics lessons looked like. And then we kind of were addressing that right before you got pushed out into the groups. But yes, there are economics lessons currently in Blender, right? As you go into Blender, you will see now some of those are in the list I gave you, but not all. The economics lessons you see in Blender were created before we had finished this, right? Your responsibility as a teacher is to cover the benchmark. So we've just given you a number of options for covering those benchmarks. If you find something in those benchmarks that you prefer over what you see posted in Blender, you are certainly free to use those resources under those benchmarks that we gave you as well. So it's completely your choice as the teacher. And then, like I said, I just wanted to make sure you had access. You got them in Blender, but here is the direct access to the ones that are in Blender. Oh, perfect timing, Marisol. See that? And that's one reason we did it right now. One is Financial Literacy Month, and one, we know this is the time period in which a lot of people are covering those units. So all about money. Yeah, it's a great lesson. Thanks, Erica. So anything else? I mean, my goodness, I've covered enough here in the last hour and a half or so. Yes, there is more. As if we haven't shared enough resources with you already, let me show you just real quick a couple more resources that you have free access to as a teacher in the district. All right, one of them is called Ever5 Vault. Now, the benefit to Ever5 Vault is single sign-on. All right, Ever5 is in our district portal. It has a number of programs, but they do have one elementary financial literacy program that we typically suggest for 4th or 5th grade. All right, so if you ever wanted to access Ever5 Vault, there's what the portal tile looks like. And then you can see there's, I believe, 6 modules. each only about 15 minutes. So it doesn't take but a little over an hour in total to do, that cover some really good personal finance lessons. We've also got the curriculum guide. So you can see Brian just dumped in there for you with the curriculum guide. And they have some offline lessons in there too, if you want to do some offline lessons with these digital lessons. All right, but EverFi is completely digital. All right, so the students could do it at home. They could do it on the computer in class. So it gives you a variety of platforms, whether you want to do paper, digital, you choose as a teacher, but you have options, is what we're trying to tell you. And there's what it looks like from the student's perspective, right? This is what they show their progress. You as a teacher, they're auto rostered into your course, so you can see their progress as well as a lot of the digital programs that we have in our district. Yes, EverFi is primarily designed for 4th and 5th grade. You could potentially push it out to 3rd. You'd have to look at it. Probably I wouldn't do it in any lower grade level than that. There's junior achievement, right? A lot of people know. If I talk to anybody who's had any sort of financial education before, usually the parents of some of the kids, they say, oh yeah, I had junior achievement when I was a kid, right? They've been around for a while. What their model is typically volunteer based. In other words, you sign up with them, and then they find a volunteer. It's usually a financial professional, some sort of professional in the community who comes in and does the program for you. You could ask to do it as well, and they'll give you the kit to do it. But typically, they like the volunteer. And that's why junior achievement is very hit and miss. I'll just be honest with you. The feedback I get, it's hit and miss based on the volunteer that you get. Some people get really good volunteers who do a great job. Others sort of get duds. But how it works is most of these programs it's 5 45-minute sessions. They also during COVID, they went to the remote model, where they built a Google site for each one of these programs. So if you also wanted access to the Google site, where they'll give you all these resources for free, you can also get that. So you can read that, but there's basically one for every grade level. It's more focused on like a student's role in the economy. Yeah, Laura, thank you. Yeah, they are back in the classrooms, but they also give you the option, if you want to still do that remote model and get access to that, you can still choose to do that. But it is great that they are back in the classroom, sending volunteers back in the classroom. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out to me and we can do that. And yes, Jennifer, thank you. That is something we're also trying to set up more of. We love that. That's the JA in a Day program they do. That's my favorite of all that they do. I know Palm Beach Gardens High School does this quite often, where they have usually students from their FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America Club, that'll come in. That is a fantastic program to learn from peers. And they come in, they do JA for a day of one of these many programs. Royal Palm Beach, great. So they have a number of, they partner with a number of FBLA organizations. So again, if that's something you're interested in, just let us know and we can get you connected with that. Now, where it gets confusing is JA has 2 franchises in our area. So this is JA of the Palm Beaches, which serves basically Boynton Beach and North. It's confusing. But then there's also JA of South Florida, which serves Delray Beach and South. JA of South Florida has this unbelievably awesome building that you can take your students to. All right, it's called JA BizTown, and it has the 18 storefronts where basically they are the CEO, they might be the marketing director. They basically take on these jobs and you live the day in the life of that person. And so it's a real life simulation. So if you're in Delray Beach or South, again, reach out to me. If you think that might be something you're interested in, you will have to do a field trip and set up the buses and all that, which I know can be a pain. But that is an option for you if you live there. Then the last resource I want to show you, if you're a kindergarten teacher, we've got a program called Kiddonomics. That's for pre-K and K. That's run through the St. Louis Fed. And so there's the free curriculum for that. That's a really cool program. That's economics focused. And then also the St. Louis Feds pushes out these learning stations. I know a lot of teachers at the elementary level love to do the learning stations, right? And they have a setup tailor-made for you, in which it has the various learning stations you can set up with the activities you can set up at those learning stations. And that one is both economics and personal finance focused. So those are really cool. And I believe Brian just put those links in there if you want it. And then finally, where can I access all of these resources in the last 2 minutes that we have? Right here. So if you haven't seen this slide deck before, This has every single resource we've talked about today, all broken down by grade level. All right, so every single resource we've gone through and more. I've just scratched the surface on some of the resources available in that. Brian has just put the link in for that. We also created, if you'd prefer not to use that slide deck and you want it in Google Classroom version, we also set up a Google Classroom. So Brian just put the direct link into the Google Classroom if you want to join that. Again, we'll send that out to you. I'll send a follow-up email the next day or two. And here's the class code in case you wanted to jump in and join that Google Classroom. Again, that's just an optional thing again today if you want to join that Google Classroom. The slide deck that we just put up there has the same exact resources that this Google Classroom has. So it's whichever method you prefer. So we'll spend the last few moments with questions. I just wanted to remind you, you can earn a stipend for this. You don't have to do anything. I will submit your name. As long as you're not classified as a substitute teacher or a charter school teacher, you can earn a stipend because you're on our payroll. So I will submit that for you. That'll be in a future paycheck. If not your next one, the one following that. So as long as you, like I said, attended, we'll use the for the attendance. And in service credit, you can earn up to 3 points simply by you have to do a quick little follow-up activity in e-learning. I think you have to upload. If you did any sort of activity, you have to upload that with students. Yeah. And then finally, the very, very last thing is just we also do adult personal finance sessions from time to time, especially during Financial Literacy Month. We are in the midst of a 3-part session. You've still got part 3 left. If you missed the first 2 sessions, we know that a lot of adults don't have many places to turn to help them with their own personal finances. So we did some 403B sessions for investing and things like that a few weeks ago. We've got 1 session left this month, and that is on the FRS, the Florida Retirement System. Unfortunately, there's a lot of salesmen that end up giving the FRS education sessions, and they're really just selling products. It's just a Trojan horse to get you in the door. So I do this session on FRS where it's just strictly education. I'm certainly not selling anything. So if you're interested in learning anything else about the investment plan or the pension plan, we're going to talk about both of them. We're doing an in-person session next Tuesday, April 30th from 4:30 to 6. That'll be at the district office. Yep, Veronica, it's all sales. I guarantee you, if you go to one of those that's been advertised, it's sales. I shouldn't say all, most of them, but we'll talk about it more on April 30th. So if you can make it, please make it. You get a stipend for that one as well. And we'll have a good old time out there from 4:30 to 6. So other than that, a huge thank you for coming out today and dedicating this hour and a half to learning more about, K-5 personal finance and economics resources. I'll stay on the line and Brian will stay on the line for a few more moments. You can certainly stick around and ask questions if you have them. Otherwise, there's my email address. You need help with anything, reach out, ask. You need us to come to your school. You need us to help in any way possible. We're there to help. So thank you. Marisol, I see your question. What's the name of the training that you can do 10 modules for? Brian, it's an NGPF on demand. Is that what it's called in e-learning?
Yep, that's it.
So I would just go into e-learning and search for NGPF. That stands for Next Gen Personal Finance, or search on demand, and it'll come up for you to enroll in.
And there is another version of it coming open this summer too, if you can't get around to it before the end of the school year, Marisol. There'll be another one starting in the day after this one closes, so there'll be another one.
And yes, you do have to register. It is also on e-learning. So if you just go into e-learning and search for FRS, you'll find it and you can enroll.